Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. How many of you decks are doomed to go?
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, welcome. I'm Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid. Okay, it's time to do some space clearing, which means there are going to be some decks in my collection that are going to be on the chopping block. And there's a couple, maybe 2, 3 that I'm not so sure of. So I want your comments and opinions and your feelings because I'm kind of iffy on them. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it. Now, the first one on the chopping block that I know for sure that is going to be leaving is the Miracles Now Inspirational Affirmations and Life-Changing Tools deck by Gabrielle Bernstein. Okay, this Gabrielle Bernstein deck. Now, aesthetically, or one thing, you see I have this rubber band around it. This box pisses me off. And not to put it delicately, it does, because it's one of these things. No magnetic closure. So you really have to just, your only option in storing is to store it flat, because if you store it this way, your cards will all fall out. Now, I do love the artwork, the vibrancy, the colors. This is a colorful deck. It's a fun square deck. Yeah. It was a great little deck to use for when I needed it. Now, the cardstock is on the glossy side, not glossy sticky, but it is, you know, a glossy cardstock. It is edged in a fun silver. And there's lots of great affirmations here. But the reason I don't reach for this is because I have Gabrielle Bernstein's 3 other decks. And you know, the universe has your back, and there are 2 newer ones, and I reach for those way more because the artwork is way different and I just vibe with it more. So this is a perfectly wonderful affirmation deck. Lots of great things, beautiful colors, but I just don't reach for it. I did at one time when this was the only affirmation deck that I had, but the other ones have taken its place, and I find I just don't reach for it. So, you know, it's time to move it along and pass it on to somebody who may appreciate it. The next deck that I know for sure that's going to be moving along is the Work Your Light Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell with artwork by the lovely Danielle Noel. This is a gorgeous, beautiful deck by Hay House that I have worked and worked and worked with. Now on top you're going to see this deck does have 2 cards that I put in the back, and I did not include it in the deck when I worked with it because I couldn't get over the religious imagery. You know, Star Mother, it looks, you know, like the Virgin Mary, and then we have Anna, grandmother of Jesus. And I got this at a time, you know, I'm really moving away from Mormonism and Christianity on a whole. And these just, for some reason, they irked me to no end because of my background, okay? If you love them, that's wonderful, but for me, I'm just telling you what my experience with them was, and so I moved them out of the deck, and that was fine. I worked with this deck so much because it was one of the, I think maybe the first Oracle deck I got. Maybe the Oracle of Mystical Moments was, but anyway, when I got this deck, it was one of the only Oracle decks I had, and I used it so much, specifically with the Chris Ann's Light Seers Tarot. I used the 2 so much. So it worked and it served me for a time, but you know, I think I've gotten what I needed out of this beautiful deck. I still love the artwork, but On a whole, I don't reach for oracle decks a ton. So I've gotten more choosy with the oracle decks, and I don't work with them a lot. The ones I have I love and I work with, and I'm just not reaching for this one. So it's in wonderful condition, it's beautiful, and I think somebody else should, use this, work with it, love it, and have it serve them as it once did for me. The next deck to be leaving my collection most certainly is another collaboration between Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel, and it is the Starseed Oracle. Again, this is a beautiful, beautiful deck, along the same vein as the Work Your Light. And I got this deck to pair with the Star Child Tarot with the Akashic version by Danielle Noel. I didn't vibe with that deck. I tried and tried and tried, and so I moved that deck along. And I kept this one, seeing if it would pair with my Moonchild, which I love and kept. And it worked for a while, but I really don't work with this deck enough to justify keeping it. And in fact, if I'm honest, I don't think I've worked with it really in close to about a year. I have other decks that I reach for over this. It is stunning, it is beautiful, there is nothing wrong with this deck, but it's just taking up some space. And I think it should be moved along to somebody who will love it and enjoy it. Another Hay House Oracle deck to be moving along is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck by Kyle Gray, artwork by Lily Moses. This deck is beautiful, and I adore these backs. And the fronts aren't bad either. This is a gorgeous deck, a stunning deck, and I worked a lot with it. Again, it was one of the first decks that I got before I learned about, indie decks. And this was a card that I took out of the deck again because it looks like Jesus took it out of the deck when I used it. And I think it has served its purpose. I don't reach for it anymore. Again, I don't think I've reached for it in about a year, maybe a little bit longer if I'm quite honest. And I used it a lot when I got it because I had, just a very few of Oracle decks. And I'm not reaching for it anymore. So it's kind of out with the old and in with the new, because I definitely have been bringing new things into my home. So these decks should be used. There's not many decks. There are a couple of decks that I have that are collector's items that are precious, but I really want to use my decks. And I have enough decks that, I can't use all my decks, consistently all the time, but they need to be used all my decks need to be used within, at least a 3 or 4 month period. And if I'm not using them in that amount of time, if I don't reach for them, and definitely if it's been longer than 6 months, it needs to go. And somebody else needs to love this deck as I once did. I still do love it. I'm just not using it. Now, the next deck to be leaving my collection for sure that I am certain of is the Wikipedia Spell Deck. And this was published by Sterling Ethos. As you can see, it is a beautifully packaged deck. So beautiful. And I found this at Half Price Books. I believe it was brand new for a very economical price. Look at this packaging. It is gorgeous. Now, these cards you can see on the backs, they have labelings because there are categories like the Sabbats, Pets and Nature, Money and Career, Family. Look at this gorgeous artwork. Self-care, healing. So there are spells in all these categories. But I'm looking at some of the spells, and it kind of gives me anxiety because I don't have a lot of the the ingredients or tools necessary all the time. And so that kind of makes me anxious because I want everything to be perfect. And because I'm not likely to go out and buy a ton of ingredients for spellcraft, it's I just look at these and it just gives me some anxiety. I need some really, really simple maybe spells to practice with. Now see, I haven't totally embraced spellcraft or witchcraft. I'm still dipping my toe. But now this one seems approachable. This one, all you need. So to improve your popularity, but see, I don't need to do that. It's not something I'm looking for. Materials are a small drawstring bag, which I have, a magnet of any shape or size. I have that. A red candle. See, I don't have a red candle. I have some other colors, but I don't have red. And a lipstick of your choice. I have lots of lipstick. I don't have the red candle. And see, some might say, just substitute another candle. But no, I would need to have everything, or it would just, annoy me. It's kind of the perfectionism thing. And see, yeah, a spell to improve my popularity. Well, the only thing I could think of, maybe I could do this spell, maybe to get more views on my YouTube channel. I don't know. But otherwise, it's a little bit, yeah, I don't really care to be more popular. Okay, you get the gist. So this deck is moving along. Also, this cardstock, really cardboardy, very, very heavy, but that might be a good thing because this isn't really a deck that you're going to shuffle. It's one that you're going to look for the card for the specific spell that you need. So if you really are into spell crafting, this might be a deck for you. The next deck I'm pretty sure is going to be leaving my collection, and it is the Bix Tarot. It's a Lo Scarabeo deck. These are the backs. I was never really fond of the backs, if they had taken this out and maybe just added some pops of red. But yeah, I don't like the titles on the back of my cards. And this is a glossy cardstock. It's not super sticky though, but one thing I loved about it is the size. I really love the size of this little deck. And turning it over, this deck follows the RWS system, and it follows one central figure, and it is super, super cute. But I have some other cute decks that I reach for: the Mons Tarot, the Whispering Spirits Tarot, the Affirmators Tarot, the Playful Heart Tarot. I have some cute decks that if I want cute, the Crystal Unicorn Tarot, they're all pretty much RWS decks. I reach for way more than this, but I do kind of like this one. I think it is super, super cute, but I just don't reach for it, you guys. So I think it might be something to pass along. I love the size of this though. If you are doing a larger spread, and sometimes I like to use my Lenormand cards, oracle cards, and tarot cards, this size deck is wonderful, and I have used it in those kind of situations. And as you can see, it does follow the RWS system very, very closely, but I just don't reach for it. So what do you think? I do really like the imagery though. It is super, super cute. So I'm pretty sure this one is going to be leaving as well. Okay, the next deck to be leaving my collection is the Tarot of Unknown Shadows. This is the second edition by Dark Cinnabar. Now, this deck has everything I like in a deck. It has old photography, and these are the backs. Antique gold, and it's been distressed. I love it. And the edges are a beautiful antique bronze, right? Everything I like. But with this particular deck, there's been some kind of bad mojo. When I did an unboxing of this deck, and I found out, I later realized, well, first of all, this deck comes with 2 extra cards, light and shadow, but it was missing the Fool card. And it took me months and months to get a replacement deck, because also this deck, the box came torn like this. It wasn't wrapped. I can't remember if it was wrapped in plastic or not, but it was torn here on the bottom. And I was like, no, if I'm paying for a new deck, it has to be complete, first of all, and it has to be in perfect condition. And, you know, in good faith, you want, you know, who you're buying from to give you a deck that's labeled new in perfect condition. And it took me months of, you know, I reported them to not eBay, Etsy, which is where I bought it. And I've heard that there's been other people who've had issues with this creator or company. It took me months and months and months, but I finally did get a complete deck. So this incomplete deck is going to leave my collection. I think it will go to Half Price Books, because I will tell them that it does not have a Fool card, but you know, they'll sell it anyway. Somebody will take it. I've seen them sell incomplete decks, so if I tell them, I have no issues. You know, they'll probably just, they won't give me anything for it, but it just, you know, I have a complete deck, so I don't need to, especially if this one is incomplete. I really, really do love the images here. Some people might complain, if you have this deck, that sometimes the images seem forced to fit the card, but I found that, you know, I have been able to read with this deck perfectly fine. So this is the Tarot of Unknown Shadows by Dark Cinnabar. All right, here is a deck that I'm not really sure about. This is the Elemental Power Tarot by Melinda Lee Holm. There are 2 reasons why I'm on the fence about getting rid of this deck. Well, first and foremost, I have not used this deck. I have really not used it or reached for it. But this deck has very beautiful backs and some of the most beautiful majors. I love the majors in this deck. It's stunning. This is a little bit larger than standard tarot size. It kind of follows, they're not exactly the same, but kind of the vein of what like the Spacious Tarot did. You know, you take the people out of the images, you know, and you have a lot of nature in it, which I think is so beautiful. I love the majors in this deck. Look at how beautiful. Just beautiful. But what I am not a fan of are the uninspired pip and court cards in this deck. As you can see, you know, at quick glance, some of them look so similar to one another. The aces are pretty cool. But if you look as we flip through the swords, you know, they're not ordered in a beautiful, ornate way like a Marseille deck, or like an illustrated pip like Pagan Other Worlds or some other decks. And after seeing those really inspired majors, and then you go to the minors, it's just kind of a letdown. Even though I think the colors are beautiful. This is just me, okay? It's just my thing, my stuff. So I haven't been really, you know, felt excited about being called to work with this deck, and I should. And you know, the other thing that is wonderful about this deck is the guidebook. The guidebook is really a wonderful little guidebook. I love the writing in it. It's got spreads. It is a great deck. Now, it's got Hebrew symbols and letters and the esoteric Hebrew association, the astrological glyph and sign. It's got some great information and great writing in the book. And that's what's held me off. I thought, okay, I'm going to keep the deck because I can use just the majors, you know, but I haven't. I really haven't. And I can't remember how long ago. It's been maybe close to a year out now, and looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, am I going to miss it? But the good thing is, it is a mass market deck and it is easily available, but I hate to let something go only to buy it again. I've done that a couple of times and I hate to do it. So let me know your thoughts. I'm really hesitant about this one because, you know, there are aspects of this deck I really do love. All right, you know, start typing in the comments below. What do you think I should do? Okay, we are at the last deck, I think. But this is another Hay House deck, and this is the Oracle of the Seven Energies by Colette Baron-Reid, and it's illustrated by Jenna Della Grataglia. This deck is so beautifully packaged. It's not the standard two-piece box. It's got a magnetic closure box. And look at these card backs. And you know, I'm really loving this matte cardstock that Hay House is coming out with. I really do. I don't like glossy cardstock. It won't stop me from buying a deck, but you know, I love a matte cardstock. The images in this deck, the imagery is beautiful. And it's got, you know, some of these vague or non-vague meanings, titles on the cards, like all, you know, oracle decks tend to do. You know, look at this. It is what it is with this picture. I don't know, what is this supposed to be? You know, so it's kind of stuff and fluff in a way, but I find the images so beautiful. But look at this. You got Pinocchio on a hat, a tall tale. Okay. So this is definitely a deck that you really need to read the book or memorize it when you pull the card, or you assign your own meanings to the cards, because some of these are kind of vague. I love the imagery in this deck. I really, really love it. But there are two decks by Hay House that I reach for more. And the imagery, you know, is kind of along the same vein. And those decks are the Enchanted Map Oracle and the Wisdom of the Oracle, and both of them are by Colette Baron-Reid. Now, as you can see, the artwork is pretty much the same. The digital collage and some of the photorealistic artwork. I had the older version of the Enchanted Map, and I passed it along when I heard that the new borderless one was coming out. This one, I will say, is a little bit more glossy than the super matte. I really love the super matte of the Seven Energies. This has a little bit more of a gloss, but not too much, and it's not sticky. And those are the backs. But I bought this, you know, because it was borderless, it was new, and I wish they would do the same for the Wisdom of the Oracle and get rid of these borders, because you see how beautiful it is. The artwork is brought up, you know, to the forefront more. This is along the same lines, the vague, not vague meanings, but I'm already bonded to these two decks. So I find that when I want this type of a deck, I reach for one of these, and I don't really reach for the Oracle of the Seven Energies. Maybe I need to use it more. So when I'm, thinking about pulling one of these, maybe instead I should just pull the Seven Energies, the Oracle of the Seven Energies. And you see how similar this is. I really wish they would redo this one. I really do. And if you know if they have any plans to do so, let me know in the comments below, because I would really love that. But yeah, I've already bonded to these, and you know what, I really haven't given the Seven Energies a chance. So maybe I'll hold on to that one just to give it a chance. So when I feel called to pull one of these, I think for a while I'm going to pull the Seven Energies and really give it, a fair shot before I let go. Okay, here's another deck. This is the last one, the Mystical Healing Reading Cards by Ina Segal. Now, I have gotten rid of this deck before, and I have repurchased it. This is a gorgeous deck. Look at these backs. And they are almost as big as my hand. But I use this deck mostly with my old art decks, like my Pagan Otherworlds and a few others. But something about the really, really huge size sometimes holds me off from breaking out this deck. It is a really good deck, and the imagery is stunning, as you can see. Now, what is the name of that cat black tarot? The golden tarot? I don't have it, but this would be a really good match with that deck. And I keep planning, to get that. It's always on the wish list, but my wish list is long, and I haven't yet gotten that deck. But I think this would be a really good deck. The cards are huge, but the guidebook is really, really good as well. I love the messages in the guidebook. I love the fact that you get a full color page with it. So it has, action to take. So something you can do to be proactive when you pull a certain card. I think this deck is beautiful, but you know what? I haven't pulled it out recently. I used it for a while, and I haven't in the recent months. So I'm kind of back and forth about this deck. It is a good deck. I don't know if it's because of the super large card size that keeps me from working with it. And if you can see, the card is almost as big as the picture in the book. So, but it's got good content here in the book. So let me know what you think I should do. I don't know. So the decks I've decided that are for sure leaving my collection and my home are the Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards, the Starseed Oracle, the Work Your Light Oracle deck, the Miracles Now Affirmation deck by Gabby Bernstein, the Tarot of Unknown Shadows by Dark Cinnaver, the Wikipedia Spell deck. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decks going for sure. Now I'm a little bit iffy on the Bix Tarot. You know what? This one's going to go. This one's definitely going to go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That makes it 7. This one's going to go. because I have lots of other cute decks that I reach for, and I don't really reach for this one, even though I like it. I do like it, and the size is so cute. Okay, now the ones I'm hesitant on is the Elemental Power Tarot, the Oracle of the Seven Energies, and the Mystical Healing Reading cards. So I think I'm going to put aside the Oracle of the Seven Energies because I'm going to do what I said. When I want to reach for the Wisdom of the Oracle or the Enchanted Map, I'm going to reach for this instead and work with it more, just to give it a fair shot. So it kind of leaves these two. I don't know, you guys. I love the Elemental Tarot. I mean, I love the majors. I love the book, but I haven't reached for it. I haven't. And then I love the Mystical Reading cards, but I haven't reached for it a lot. So I don't know what to do. I really don't know. I'd love to hear your comments. I want to know what your experience has been with any of these decks, if you think I should hold on to any of them, or do you think I'm right on with letting some of these go? You know, it's all opinion. And again, these are all wonderful, magical decks, but you know how it is. We evolve. You know, we're approaching the end of the year, out with the old, in with the new, and it's time to let in some new energy. So I want to hear all your comments, your opinions, and I want to thank you for spending time with me. And with that, I will let you get on with your beautiful day. Bye for now.